Have you ever felt stuck in a loop when it comes to relationships? Like you keep attracting the same type of person over and over again? Or maybe communication always breaks down at the exact same point? Ghosting. Arguments that go nowhere. That familiar feeling of not this again. What if I told you that behind these modern frustrations lie ancient forces, unconscious patterns that are actually running the show? Forces that the renowned psychologist Carl Jung called archetypes. In this video, we're going to dive deep into that. We're going beyond the surface to understand how these hidden Jungian archetypes are shaping your love life right now. In your modern relationships, stick with me because uncovering this might just be the key to building more conscious, authentic connections. Let's begin unraveling the collective unconscious in love. When we talk about Jung and relationships, most people immediately think of anima, the inner feminine in men, and animus, the inner masculine in women, and yes, they're essential. They represent our inner connection to the opposite sex and deeply influence our projections in love. But Jungian analytical psychology goes much deeper. It's far richer and more nuanced. There are other powerful archetypes that constantly shape how we relate, how we love, and how we seek connection. Let's look at some of the most influential ones on the stage of love. The lover seeks passion, deep connection, intimacy, and ecstasy. It's the force that drives us toward union, beauty, and intense feeling. In relationships, it craves fusion. The caregiver, moved by compassion, with a deep urge to protect, nurture, and help the other. In love, this archetype often becomes the emotional pillar, sometimes even to the point of self-sacrifice. The warrior, focused on goals, boundaries, and defending its territory and the relationship. It brings assertiveness and courage, but may struggle with vulnerability. The orphan carries a deep sense of abandonment and a longing for belonging and safety. In love, it may fear rejection and unconsciously search for someone to rescue them or fill an inner void. And these are just a few. Each of us has a unique constellation of these archetypes at play, some stronger, some more dormant. But how exactly do these archetypes clash or complement each other in your daily interactions? How do they explain those arguments that seem to come out of nowhere? Let's dive into some real and eye-opening scenarios. Relationship conflicts are rarely just about what's being said on the surface. More often, they're unconscious archetypes colliding beneath the scenes. Let's explore a few common dynamics in modern love. Example 1. The caregiver meets the puella, the eternal child. Do you always find yourself being the responsible one, handling everything, holding things together, while your partner seems to avoid commitment, delay decisions, and live in a dreamy world of endless possibilities, without ever grounding? That's the classic dynamic between the caregiver, who longs to nurture, and the puella eternus, the archetype of eternal youth, who fears being tied down by responsibility. The caregiver starts to feel resentful. The puella starts to feel suffocated. It becomes a vicious cycle. Example 2. The battle of the warriors. Does your relationship feel like a constant power struggle? Each person fiercely defending their position, unwilling to yield or show vulnerability? This might be a clash between two warriors. Both are strong, assertive, and independent. But the relationship turns into a battlefield, and emotional connection gets lost in the crossfire. What's missing is the space for mutual surrender, the very thing love often needs most. Example 3. the lover and the orphan, the push-pull. Dance, you crave intensity, overwhelming passion, lover, but your partner, after moments of closeness, pulls away, becomes distant, afraid, orphan, or maybe you're the one who pulls back when intimacy starts to feel too real. The lover yearns for fusion. The orphan, haunted by a fear of abandonment, may unconsciously sabotage love before it gets too deep, just to avoid being hurt. This creates that painful push-pull dynamic we see so often. These archetypal dynamics explain many patterns we face in love today, from the struggle to define relationships to deep, recurring communication breakdowns. Can you recognize any of these in your own love life, past or present? Or maybe in someone close to you? Share your thoughts in the comments below. It's incredible how these patterns echo through so many of our stories, and recognizing these archetypal clashes is already a huge step. But here's where it gets even more interesting. What happens when your dominant archetype, the one you most express, ends up attracting its own shadow in a partner? Why does that happen? Carl Jung taught us about the shadow, that hidden part of ourselves we repress, deny, or simply don't recognize. But the shadow isn't just a vague, dark space. It's also filled with archetypes. And often, we're unconsciously drawn to people who embody the very archetypes we've exiled to our shadow. Why does this happen? Because the psyche longs for wholeness. If we've repressed, for example, our assertiveness, the energy of the warrior, we might find ourselves deeply attracted to dominant, even controlling partners. If we've denied our need for connection, passion, and sensuality, the lover, we may end up entangled with intense, chaotic people who overflow with what we keep buried. Imagine someone who lives from the mind, ruled by the sage or magician archetype, highly rational, composed, in control. They might feel a magnetic pull towards someone wild, emotional, untamed, the energy of the wild woman, or the Dionysian. That attraction isn't random. It's the psyche's way of reaching for balance, of trying to reclaim what's been disowned. This is often the root of those intense, sometimes destructive attractions to people who seem like our complete opposite. What we're really doing is projecting an archetypal shadow onto them, hoping without realizing it, to become whole through them. But here's the truth. It rarely works in the long run, because true integration doesn't happen through someone else. It happens within us. Take a moment to reflect on your most intense attractions, especially the ones that didn't seem to make sense. What hidden part of you, what repressed archetype, might that person have been mirroring back? That question alone can unlock powerful self-awareness. Understanding these dynamics between archetypes and the shadow can be truly eye-opening. But the next step is key. How do you use this awareness to build healthier, more conscious relationships? The key to transforming unconscious patterns is to bring your archetypes into the light of awareness. It's not about erasing a part of you or pretending to be someone else. It's about integrating these energies in a more balanced, mature, and conscious way. Here are some practical steps to begin this journey. Personal archetype mapping start by journaling about your relationship patterns. Which archetypes seem to dominate your reactions? Which ones do you admire or secretly dislike in others? Often, what triggers or fascinates us can be a clue to our projections. Identify your core strengths and your shadow archetypes. Develop the repressed with awareness. If you've uncovered an archetype that lives in your shadow, for example, the warrior in someone who avoids confrontation, look for healthy ways to activate and embody that energy. This might mean learning to set boundaries for the overgiving caregiver, or embracing vulnerability for the overly rigid warrior. It's about taking small, conscious steps to bring balance. Archetypal communication with your partner, if possible. If you're in a relationship and there's openness, try discussing these dynamics together. Say something like, "I notice that I sometimes slip into caregiver mode and you seem to become the escaper. How can we create more balance together?" Using the language of archetypes can create mutual understanding without blame, turning tension into insight. Seek wholeness. Within, this is the most important point. Instead of searching for a partner to complete the archetype you lack, focus on developing that energy within yourself. The more integrated you become, the less dependent you'll be on projections, and the less likely you'll fall into those unconscious attraction traps. Remember, this is a lifelong journey of self-discovery. It's not about rushing to fix yourself, but about expanding your awareness and reclaiming all parts of who you are. It is deep work, but the reward is just as profound. More conscious relationships, greater emotional resilience, and a deeper, more grounded sense of wholeness. Let's bring it all together with one core truth. So, what have we uncovered today about Jungian archetypes and modern relationships? Here's the big takeaway. These unconscious patterns are not your unchangeable fate. Yes, they are powerful forces, but they can be brought into awareness. Once you recognize which archetype is at play in you or in your partner, you gain perspective. Suddenly, the conflict isn't just personal, it becomes something larger, an archetypal dynamic that can be observed, understood, and even transformed. The struggles we face in love aren't signs of failure. They're invitations, opportunities to integrate lost parts of ourselves, both the luminous and the shadowy. Understanding Jung's archetypes won't give you a magical formula for perfect love, but it will give you something even more valuable. Powerful tool to navigate the complex terrain of relationships with more clarity, compassion, and self-awareness. It's a step toward deeper, more conscious, and authentic love. Now, let me ask you something. Which archetype do you feel is secretly running your love life right now? Recognizing it is the first step to reclaiming your inner wholeness. If this video helped you understand yourself and your relationships on a deeper level, leave a like, share it with someone who needs this message, and of course, subscribe for more. Deep dives into psychology, the unconscious, and your inner world. Until next time, keep exploring.